Guys, welcome back to the Coop CrossFit cooking channel. I'm Darwin. Hopefully you've seen some of the other videos. If you haven't, definitely go check those out. Today we're going to do a quick one. This is one of my absolute favorite things to cook as well as eat. I love it. I don't know what else to tell you. This is rosemary, black pepper, and sea salt encrusted venison. So I eat a lot of wild game, a lot of elk, a lot of venison. There's a bison ranch up in Nebraska where I source stuff from. I'm kind of particular about my meat selection here because I grew up around the industry and I don't really like the commercially produced meat. So I tend to really try to source everything from small farmers, small ranchers who do the right thing. If that's not your thing, it's totally fine. You can still make the commercially produced stuff smell, look, and taste delicious. But what we're gonna do today is treat this piece of meat with tender loving care and then eat it. So it's pretty simple. What we need to do on this is we're gonna have to mix up our crusting, a couple of prep things. So I get all this stuff deep frozen and shipped into me. What you're gonna do is the night before, I like to take one out of the deep freezer, I keep it in the laundry room, and we put it in the refrigerator to kind of slowly defrost it. We don't wanna bring that meat up to temperature too fast. Usually about lunchtime, I tend to work out in the afternoons, you kind of get your own style, but usually right around lunchtime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna put it in the packaging on a plate like this in the kitchen to come up to room temperature. What you really don't wanna do is try to cook cold cuts of meat with a hot pan. That's gonna lead you to something called black and blue, which means the inside of it is very, very cold and the outside is hot or burnt. It's bad. So you always wanna try to bring your meat up to room temperature. One other little hack I love to do is if you're looking for how to cook it in terms of rare, mid-rare, whatever, take your hand and do this. So this is raw right here. You're gonna feel right here. If you touch your first finger, that consistency right there is a rare. You've got mid-rare, you've got medium, and then over here is well done. If you squeeze, it's really, really hard and overcooked. You don't want that. So wild game, I tend to like to cook at about a medium rare. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and get mixing up. This recipe is super simple. It's one of my absolute favorites. So let's put this off to the side here real quick. So the crusting is one of three things. Sorry about the squeaking. I have an annoying dog here and she's really excited about this steak. So we're using some rosemary. It's one of my favorite spices to use in the kitchen. I get this locally because I grow it over at one of the rental properties. So what I'll do is I'll take a handful of rosemary like this and go ahead and just crush it up with my palm. I dry this stuff here locally. Honestly, it's not that hard. I just leave it next to the stove for a couple of weeks and it just falls off and super dry. And you can just crust it up like so. We're gonna go ahead and put it in the cup. If you wanna be fancy, you can use a mortar and pestle. They call them molcajetes in Spanish, and they're really, really good for making this stuff. The next ingredient is black pepper. You can get as fancy as you want on this stuff. I am not. This is 365 Whole Foods brand, very easy to do. I like to do about equal parts. So we got rosemary, we got black pepper. We're gonna swirl that around a little bit more. Oh yeah, nice little ratio right there. Item number 3, which is very important when you're cooking any type of meat, is salt, okay? A lot of the time there's a lot of moisture in that thing, and the drier you can get that steak, the better it's gonna turn out. So we're gonna take a nice healthy 4-finger pinch. This is Malden sea salt flakes. It's my absolute favorite. We're gonna just crumble it up because they tend to have some bigger chunks in there. And a little extra just for good measure. Quick rule of thumb, it's actually really hard to oversalt meat when you're cooking it this way. If you're gonna mix it in there, you can definitely do it. But when you're doing the crust, it's a little bit difficult to do, so just kind of don't freak out about it. We're gonna mix this all up with our fingers until we get a nice even coating, get that rosemary crumbled up. There we go. All right, one big salt flake. And that's it, so that's what we're looking for. All right, so now that we got our mix done, set this off to the side. I like to use a few paper towels to kind of pat everything dry. So we'll get here. It's also nice to use paper towels because then you can throw them away. But we're just gonna pat all the moisture off of this thing. All right, to get a nice one, use the paper towel, flip it over. We're just trying to remove any residual water or blood or anything that comes in from the packaging and get a nice dry surface so we can get some of this spice mixture to really stick to it. Okay, so one more. It's a really nice cut. It's gonna be delicious. Okay. So when I mix this, one quick kitchen hack is you're gonna have a dry hand and you're gonna have a wet hand. So that means one hand is gonna handle the raw meat. The other hand is going to handle the spices and the dry stuff. Then you can use this hand to turn your faucet on and wash, right? So we're going to keep it this way. So we're going to sprinkle. Gotta look at all that rosemary. That's going to be delicious. Our pepper. So we're going to rub that around. A couple smacks for good measure. Why not? Go ahead and flip that thing over. A little more here. Rub it on there. Yep, a lot of pepper there. It's good. And then you can also use your plate here and really get a good crust. All right. So we want this all stuck to the outside, looking good. Yep, right there. If you got a little bit of extra stuff, you don't need to preserve it or anything. I honestly just leave this up above my sink for the next time because I do a lot of this stuff. All right, so we're gonna let that rest just a couple of minutes and let's go get the pan hot. We'll walk you through that. Guys, all right, so we've got our meat seasoned. We've got a nice flat pan here. So let's go ahead and go through the process. I know it sounds a little crazy, but if you're gonna pay for good quality meat, cook it right, don't ruin the stuff. It's expensive. I mean, an animal had to die for you to eat dinner, so let's show a little bit of respect. So what I like to do on these, if you look at this cut's about an inch, inch and a half thick, so about like so. To get a good medium rare cut, what you're gonna wanna do is a couple minutes per side, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and get the pan fired up here. We're gonna leave it on high for a couple minutes just to go ahead and get some heat in there. But it's really important to have the pan nice and hot before you pop the meat on there because we wanna get that good sear. We need a nice crust on there and that's gonna hold the juices inside the meat so that when we rest it afterwards, it's gonna come out just perfect. So as we do that with venison, I like to use avocado oil to cook it. It's got a little bit higher smoke point, so it's not gonna like spontaneously catch fire and it adds a bit of nice flavor to the meat, all right? So what we're gonna do is give that pan a few more minutes. So there's our avocado oil, nice gold color. So what you're gonna look for, so if you come over here and look at this angle, you can see where it's gonna start to shimmer. And we're not there yet because this pan's not quite hot, but as it warms up, you'll see some ripples in the surface and the oil's gonna start to flow a little better. So you see how it's starting to roll around the pan and get a little bit more liquidy? That's getting there. One more pro tip if you have one. So this is my trusty old hamburger press. I love this thing. I paid about $5 for it back in the day. If you wanna get a nice sear on the other side, you're gonna use another burner and get that sucker cranking. So I like to leave this one on at about medium high heat right here. We're gonna go ahead and get that thing warming up while the pan's going. The other important part of this is timing it right, okay? Most of us have an iPhone, I know I do. Mine usually sits over in the corner. So once I get this thing on there, I'm gonna yell at Siri and have her put a timer on for about 2 minutes. So you can see we got that nice shimmer going in the oil right now. You can see it's starting to ripple a little bit. Let's do this. This is the most satisfying sound in the kitchen. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes. So while this is cooking, we're gonna go ahead and cut this heat down. It's in between medium, high, and medium. It's a good sized burner. What you don't wanna do, the sign of an amateur is shaking a pan all the time. We don't need to do that. What we're looking for is nice, even heat transfer up through the pan into the meat. So we're gonna give it that 2 minutes right there and just let it go. And that rosemary's starting to cook off in the oil and it smells amazing. Meanwhile, over here, we got our hamburger press warming up. What we're gonna use this for is that as soon as we flip it, we're going to be able to apply additional heat to the top side and get a nice quick cook sear on there. What that's gonna give us is a beautiful crust on the outside and a warm, tender inside on that meat. So while this cooks, you can see some smoke starting. You got time to lean, you got time to clean. So we're gonna get this plate. Remember, this was a raw, so we're gonna rinse this off, go ahead and get it in the dishwasher so we can clean everything. That way when you're done, you can eat dinner and not worry about cleaning the kitchen. So let's go ahead and flip this over. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna get that over in the oil, soak that up. One thing that's really nice about wild game is that it's really, really lean. So you don't ever have to worry about putting additional oil in there. If you're in the macros game and you're tracking your fats or what have you. So here's the best part. So we're gonna take this hamburger press, it's all warm. Balance it right on top of there. Awesome. All right guys, so this is the last little bit. Here's the next fun part. So after you cook this stuff, sorry about the noise here, but after you cook this, you wanna get a clean plate right here. We gotta rest it. So once this happens, I'm gonna grab us some tin foil. So the last part of really making a good cut of meat is you have to rest it. You can't just pull it right off of the stove, eat it. It'll be good, but it's better this way. What we're gonna do is take a little piece of tin foil. Once this is done, we're gonna get it on the plate. We're gonna tin it loosely, shiny side down, and let it sit for about 3 to 4 minutes while our Instant Pot is decompressing. And then we've got our venison and sweet potato casserole. It's gonna be a good day. So I'll stage this stuff out just like so. You can see we got some nice smoke. Here's the nice part about the avocado oil. As you can see, it's turning golden brown, but it's not actually burning, right? So different types of oil sometimes will have a lower smoke point, but avocado oil makes a wonderful, wonderful addition to this. All right, guys, that's it. Timer's done. Let's get this thing off of here. Woo, look at that. Sometimes I'll give it a little bit. We'll just soak up this last bit of rosemary and oil and all that good stuff. Get it tinted out. All right, so we're gonna sit here. Now we got about 3 to 4 minutes for that to rest. What'll happen is some of the juices will come out and then they'll reabsorb and they'll continue to cook. All right, let's go over and check these sweet potatoes. All right, guys, so the Instant Pot finished up while we were over there grilling. The meat's resting. We're gonna go ahead, it's in the keep warm, so we'll cancel this. We gotta depressurize the steam. Let's check it out. It's like aromatherapy for dudes. You could do this one in cast iron too, on the grill, which we'll do in another video if you guys want to follow along on that one. It is amazing. But I like to use my oven in Arizona in the summer because it's 1,000,000 degrees outside. Instant Pots are such a tease. You can smell it, but you can't look at it. You should come take a look at this. Here it is. This is sweet potatoes. You got your red onions. Oh man, they're so nice and tender. Rosemary, tahini. Man, smells good. So we're gonna scoop a little bit of this out on a plate. Quality control is essential in any good kitchen. Then we're gonna check on our venison, which should be rested up. We'll try a little bite. Here's a couple sweet potatoes. Try these. Ooh, look how tender those are. Ish, delicious. All right, let's get this venison, slice it up, see how it looks. So now, the meat has been resting under the tin foil. It's had a chance to reabsorb. Oh my goodness, that smells amazing. All right, take this out, let it sit there, and then get a couple of slices, see how we did. Oh, look at that, absolutely perfect. So you'll notice this with wild game. If you come in here and take a look, you'll notice there's a deep red streak. A lot of times that's not always the temperature of the meat, especially if you're gonna cook elk or venison. You can see this one's just a little bloody right here, but we can see which side the hamburger press was on, right? So we got a little bit more cooking here and a little bit more rare on that side. I personally like it that way, but if you don't like meat quite as rare, you get your own style. All right. So we're gonna try these here. And strangely, the camera guy loves cooking days because we also use him as a guinea pig for the test kitchen. So, little sampler platter here. We'll check it out. I'm gonna grab him a knife and a fork, but this is it right here. So you've got sweet potatoes, onions, venison round. Life's good. Now eat up, get back to work.